Hi, my name is Pasieka. I'm a polymer clay artist. You're here with me in my studio, and today I'm going to be showing you how I make my little penguin polymer clay Christmas tree ornament. Each year I make a different ornament, and this is my feature ornament for 2019. And this process I'm going to take you through is from start to finish, and it's just to show you a little bit of what I do in terms of techniques and how I work with the clay. So I hope you enjoy. Okay, so I have collected here pretty much all the colors that I'm going to need to create one of my little penguin Christmas tree ornaments. But the color that I'm missing is the color that I'm going to choose to make a hat. And I set this one aside. All the other ones are prepared, but I wanted to just show you once how I mix a color, because the polymer clay does come in a variety of different colors. These ones that I'm cutting up right now are out of the packaging, provided by, I like to use Fimo. It's a brand of polymer clay. And but I always like to mix up my own colors, so I don't use colors that are straight out of a package any more than a painter would use paint that comes directly out of the tube. There's a lot of mixing involved and blending and creating of your own special shades. Right now I'm just chopping it up a little bit because the clay needs to be conditioned, and usually it's not soft enough out of the package to be blending with, so just this process of cutting the clay up into little bits makes it easier to roll into a ball, which is where I'm going to start with for the process of blending the colors together. And I'm aiming to be making a darker teal color here, so that's what the navy is for. So now I'm just squishing all of the colors together. And process can be tough on the hands. I'm going to pick up all the extra little bits that are falling off onto my work surface here. And I can start rolling it up into a ball. Use a fair amount of strength in the palms of my hands to squish it all together. And it's a rigorous process of rolling it into a ball and then rolling it into a log. And the more pressure I can put on it, the better it's going to stick together. As you see, it crumbled a little bit as I was doing the rolling. So I just have to squish that all back together. Again, pick up any loose pieces. And I'm going to do some more rolling. And the more rolling and squishing together, the better conditioned the clay is going to be, the better it's going to stick together. And we want the clay to be in a condition that it's going to be soft enough to be pliable, where I can manipulate the form and it's not going to crack or crumble on me. And this process can be quick depending on how soft the clay is, or it could take a very long time, depending on if the clay happens to be really old or stale, if you will, and it would require a longer time conditioning. This isn't too bad here. I can do a little bit of that conditioning and blending using my pasta roller, which I'm going to show you right now. And that's just going to go through the pasta roller. I'm just going to roll it through and fold it over and roll it through and continue. And this is what I've got so far. This is almost like a marbled clay, but that's not what I'm looking for right now. Okay, so I've sent this through the pasta roller a few times, and I'm nearly there with my color. And I see it's a little bit of a guessing process in terms of how much color I want in there. This one's a little bit more blue than I would like to have, so I think I'm going to add a little bit of green. a little bit more of that. And this time this is a really soft clay, so I'm just going to run it through the machine. Okay, so I'm much happier with this tealy blue color here. I'm going to send it through one more pass, two on the pasta roller, and I'm just going to roll this up into a ball, ready for when I'm ready to make the hat, because that's what this is going to be used for, is making one of those fun little toques for my penguins. There it is. So that's color blending. So like I said, all of those other colors I would have had to go through the same process. It's conditioning of the clay, and if I'm blending a color, then I have to run it through the pasta roller, or I can twist and roll and twist and roll and twist and roll with using my hands. So the pasta roller saves me a little bit of time, and right now I'm just cleaning my hands off with a little wipe here, just because the clay comes off in my hands, and if I were not to clean my hands, then if I were to pick up the ball of white clay, for example, all of that blue color would come off into my white. So I have to make sure that this is a really clean process. And looks like I'm ready to start. Okay, so here I have my little ball of clay in black that I'm going to use for the body of the penguin. And I like to hollow out my polymer clay ornaments. For one reason, I'm cheap. I like to extend the clay that I have on hand. Well, perhaps cheap is not the best word, maybe more economical. And the other reason, the secondary reason, and this is, I think it's quite important, is that I can increase the size of the ornament. Let me set that aside for right now. I can increase the size of the ornament without increasing the weight. So this ornament is going to be lighter than it could be if it was solid. So it's going to be nice and easy to hang on your Christmas tree. It also makes for a nice base to be standing up. So I'm hollowing it out. I'm creating this kind of cone and making the shape that I'm looking for. And as you see, I do a lot of my work with my hands and fairly rudimentary tools, such as my skewer here, which I've designated for work with black because the clay gets onto the wood. So I have my skewers color-coded. Now I'm just stretching out the body with my fingers, and I'm going to start pinching in the base because, of course, I don't want to have a cone. I want to have almost like an egg shape, I suppose, for my penguin. Now they're not all going to be identical because we're not all identical. So the same thing as some of my penguins are going to be black, and some are going to be various shades of gray, and some might even be in color, because I think that would be kind of fun. Already made one or two like that earlier on in the year. Gave them away as gifts. So let's see, it's getting a little bit better here. I'm going to stretch it out a little bit more because I want it to be a little bit bigger than this. And this is why your clay needs to be conditioned, so that you can do things like stretching it out and not have it crack. Alright, this is looking pretty good. Maybe a short squat penguin, and that's fine. Let me see. I managed to get a little bit of the blue bits of clay on here, so I think that's where I'm going to choose to put the white, little white stripe down the front of him. Okay, so I have my white clay here, and I'm just going to break off a little wee piece of it because I don't need that much. To be so careful. I've already cleaned my hands, but there's still little bits of the black on my fingers. And any of the other color that you've been working on, if you have it left on your hands, it's going to get into that white. The white is particularly difficult to work with and challenging, and oftentimes pieces have to be put aside because you realize that you've gotten some of that color in there that you didn't want to have if you were looking for a pure white piece of clay. So I started with a little ball, and I'm just going to round off an edge there against my work surface, and that looks like it'll be pretty good. And now I'm going to flatten it out in between my fingers. My thumb tends to get a bit of a beating when I'm working because I'm putting a lot of pressure on it all the time on my right hand here. And in fact, right now it's quite sore. But this is still a labor of love for me. Okay, so you can see that this is much bigger than what I need, but that's okay because I'm going to be trimming it off on the bottom. In fact, I might even trim it off right now. Let's see what I can do here. It's a lot of just massaging of the clay and working out the shape that I want. That's pretty good. I'm going to put it on the body here. And I can either break off the bottom or I can be neat and cut it with my knife here. It's fairly clean. Just going to press that in there. Okay, so you can see how this is beginning to turn into a penguin. Got one here and one there. I got a little wee speck of white. I'm just going to pick that off. There we go. So there are a few things that I could do right now, and I think I'm going to do the feet of the penguin. So I've got a little bit of my orange. I'm just doing a quick little condition of it, just rolling it up and making it a little bit softer. And I'm going to cut off little pieces of clay that are roughly the same amount. And I'm going to roll these into balls. And again, I'm going to do like what I did with the white. I'm just going to roll off into a point on the one side and press in between my fingers. And you can see I've got this nice little rounded shape for a foot. And that's just going to stick right onto the bottom there. Okay, so I've jumped ahead a little bit. I've got both feet on my penguin, and I've made a similar shape with a little ball of black clay that I'm going to press out, and I'm going to do this in the reverse though, and I'm going to put the little pointy end sticking out at the back. So I'm going to roughly look for the center. Maybe it would help if I have this upside down, and stick that on right there. I see I have a little bit more color stuck in. There we go. It's all good. And so that's my little penguin with feet and a tail right there. And my next step, again, I've got my black clay. I'm going to take what I have left here. I'm going to cut that in half because my penguin needs arms or fins. I'm not sure what you call them. Wings. Let's see. So I got two balls of clay. They're roughly the same. And again, I'm going to roll it out to a point on one end. And similarly here. The second one. This one is a little. A little more conditioning. That's a little better. And this time I'm just going to press them out nice and flat. And look at that. I've got a little too much, but this is roughly the idea. Okay, so now I've made two roughly equal-sized teardrop shaped pieces of black clay, which I am going to use as the penguin's little arm. I'll call it an arm for now, since I don't know the proper word. So I'm going to put one on each side, And I'm going to turn them out just a little bit so that they, oh, this one's, I'm going to spin that around a little bit more. I'm going to flip them out like that, give it a little bit of character, and we're coming along with a penguin here. Okay, so I have this little piece of yellow clay here that I'm going to use. Let's see, that one got a little bit dirty. And get a new piece here. I'm going to roll up into a ball, and I'm going to use this to make the penguin's beak. I'm going to repeat that process again, where I'm rolling it against the table and creating a little point, and then with my hands I'm going to press it together, create this triangular shape, and then I'm going to use my knife and cut off the end so I have a nice flat edge here. This is going to be the penguin's beak. Press it on just like so, and the clay sticks to itself, as you can see. And again, I need a tiny little bit of green. I've decided I'm going to use a little bit of green. Actually, you know what, maybe not this one. I have another ball here. I like this green better. It's a little bit darker. It's going to show up better on the white. And I'm going to make a couple little dots for the eyes. So here's a little ball of clay. That one may be a little bit too big, but we'll see. And there's another little ball of clay. Pick up my penguin and place it on, and get the second one on like so, and there's my penguin. So the only thing he's missing is his toque, because you know, he needs to stay warm. So for the toque, I have this color that I mixed up. I have to say it's not quite the one that not quite the color that I was hoping for, that I was aiming to get, but in the process of filming I thought it's a color of a toque, it'll be fine. I would probably prefer to add a little bit more green to it, but this is good. We'll go with this for now. So what I'm going to do is, I guess right now I'm going to prepare the little band here that you see that goes around the toque. So I have to take some of my clay and roll it out fairly evenly. I need to make sure that my clay is well conditioned, and this one is, because I spent so much time mixing this color. And I'm going to roll it through my pasta machine. Once I made it a little bit too wide, so I'm gonna just stretch it out a bit with my hands here, and I'm gonna roll it through at a thinner setting. There we go, and that looks good. So just gonna clean off my little pin here. I'm gonna add my detail, and this is how I'm going to do that. So it looks like it's ribbed. Carry on here, just like so. So I have my little ribbed piece made there. Now I'm going to take a little ball of clay, and I think the last time I made it I took a little bit too much, so that would be this guy over here I made just recently. So a little wee ball of clay, maybe even a little less than this, and I'm going to roll it into a ball. Now let's see, I'm working with blue, so I'm going to take my blue, designated blue skewer here, grab that, and like I did with the base for the penguin, I'm just going to poke a little hole, and I'm going to roll it out against the table. This one might be a little bit too little, we'll find out. I can also press it against my hands, that's a little bit easier. There, this is looking pretty good. And I'm just going to roll it around, continue to stretch out that shape that's going to be the toque. You can even stretch it out with my hands. Just get my little fingers in there. And I'm going to test it out. Let's see, how does this toque look on my little penguin? That's pretty perfect. I think that looks good. So, and now I take my ribbing here. That's going to wrap around. I'm going to take this basically up the middle, the back, the center of the back there. I'm going to check how this is aligning on the front. And I have a little bit excess, which is good. That's what I wanted. And I'm going to cut down one of these ribs just to remove the excess that I have and press it in together. And that's the back of my little hat there, little toque. So now, any proper toque is going to have a nice little pom-pom. So I'm going to create my little ball of clay for the pom-pom. This is, again, a little bit too big, so I'll take a little bit off. Now, the pom-pom is perhaps the most challenging part of this piece, for me anyways, because I have to stipple it. So I'm holding it in my hands and stippling all the way around. But you get the idea. And the thing is that as I'm rolling it around, some of that stippling detail gets a little bit smushed when it's on the underside, and I have to basically go all the way around because only a small portion of this is sitting on top of the toque and is going to get covered up. So that's what this is. That's what this is looking like right there. So this is looking pretty much done. I'm going to take it and press it on top of the toque, and then I go around and have a look at some of the spots that look like they got a little bit smushed, and continue to stipple a little bit right around there. So we look like we've got a nice little pom-pom. All right, now the final step of my little penguin is he needs a little hole so that I can tie a thread through him and that he can be hung on a Christmas tree. Now I poke a little bit from each side, and with any luck we're going to connect through. And the reason for this is if I were to push through all the way from just one side, then I would get a weird kind of, there it is, a weird pushing out of the clay. It would like kind of cone out on the opposite side, and I want the opposite of that. I want the little indentation where each hole is, just so it looks cleaner. But there he is. That's my little penguin there. I'll just pick him up and show him off. Oh, where are we? There he is, little penguin. And that's this year's Christmas tree ornament for 2019. Hope you enjoyed that. Bye.